Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. And if you're new here, yay, you found my channel. I'm so glad. My goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to spend time and money watching a specific film. And that is definitely the case for today's film that I'm reviewing. It's called The Northman. This brutal, violent tale is now playing in theaters nationwide. It's rated R and is 2 hours and 17 minutes long. This is director Robert Eggers' longest movie, and it feels long. It feels epically long. But before I get into all of that, let me give you an overview in a nutshell. First of all, dark Viking TV series are all the rage right now, but this movie takes the vicious time period even further. The story is about Prince Amleth, who's on the verge of becoming a man when his father is brutally murdered by his uncle, who then kidnaps the boy's mother. The film is set in 914 CE, Common Era, during the settlement of Iceland before the establishment of the all thing. 2 decades later, Amleth is now a Viking who's on a mission to save his mother, kill his uncle, and avenge his father. This bloodfest of a story is directed by Robert Eggers. He said he made the film he wanted to and doesn't anticipate the need to ever release a director's cut. Interesting. Now, there were some things that I liked, even though this type of a movie isn't really my cup of tea, just simply for the blood and slaughter and hatred and anger and fighting and all of that kind of stuff. But let me share the things that I liked, and then I'll share the things that I didn't like. So first of all, the talented cast includes Alexander Skarsgård, who is incredible, Nicole Kidman, Klaus Bang, Ethan Hawke, Anya Taylor-Joy, Gustav Lind, and Willem Dafoe. Some really big, powerful names in that cast, right? And everybody did an excellent job. Alexander Skarsgård is fierce and more ripped than we've ever seen before. He helped come up with the idea for the film because he had always wanted to make a Viking movie. And he is cast very well in this, I think. Nicole Kidman plays his mother, even though she's only 9 years older than him. I also love Anya Taylor-Joy pretty much in everything that she ever does. She's so versatile and just so great. If you're looking for lots of Viking action, here you go. The movie features Viking lore and Norse mythology and some history. In fact, I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. So if that's something that you like, here you go. I got to visit Iceland for the very first time just a few months ago. It is truly an epic land that makes for the perfect backdrop of this film. Filming took place there, of course, but also in Scotland and even in Ukraine. One of the locations was so remote that they had to transport the cast via helicopter to get everybody there. Now, the story of Amleth inspired Shakespeare's Hamlet. The movie feels like a retelling of that epic story, although technically it's not. The costume design, props, and things like the dental markings on some characters are based on history and what we know about the early settlers of Iceland. Director Robert Eggers worked with literary scholars and an archaeologist named Neil Price, who said this movie might be the most accurate Viking movie ever made. Interesting, and it did feel authentic. Ingvar Sigurdsson actually learned how to throat sing for his role as the he witch in this movie. Now, there were some things I didn't like, as I mentioned. It's not a fun watch per se, for entertainment's sake. And while I recognize the artistry and the realism of the film, just all of the bloody violence and, just mostly that, just is a little too much for me. The movie takes itself extremely seriously as a serious historical drama. I heard that the runic title cards, in fact, aren't accurately translated, but they do look really cool. And you see these title cards to kind of help you understand the locations as well as the passage of time. I kind of got tired of watching all of the endless slaughter and the anger and the intensity. However, I again recognized that it was very well made. Now, let me give you some tips for parents. This is not appropriate for children under age 17, in my opinion. There's tons of bloody violence, crude gestures. You see a couple going at it in the distance with some skin and some movements that are shown, and then some kind of close ups. Private parts are not shown. So that's good and kind of surprised me, really. But you do see some naked bodies running through the forest one night, and some old languages are spoken without subtitles, so you have to read. But just for the content alone, it's not appropriate for young children, for sure. Some of the themes that are illustrated well include revenge, family, free will, traditions, hatred, and anger. So I like to write down funny lines and interesting lines. There weren't any funny lines because this is a serious drama, but I posted a bunch of interesting lines on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So you can go over there and check all of them out. I'll share a couple of them with you here right now. One is spoken by Queen Gudrun, who's played by Nicole Kidman. And she says, "How easily we all become princesses again when the beasts take us for their wives." And there's this interesting imagery of beasts, as these men are beasts, and even wolves and bears, and they take on these animalistic persona, which is interesting and another element of the story and the symbolism. Another interesting line was spoken by the He Witch, and he says, "And shall you also enjoy the moment when you must choose between kindness for your kin or hate for your enemies?" And then I really liked this line by Amleth. Again, he's played by Alexander Skarsgård, and he says, "Tomorrow I shall finish my deeds in honor. Only then will I discover if living is to my liking." And I thought that was super interesting. Again, this isn't my ideal movie to watch to enjoy, but there was a lot of good in it, and I love directors that really take the time to learn the history and portray things accurately. And so for those reasons, I'm giving it a B plus. All right. So I instantly thought of a couple of movies as I was watching this. One was a recent one that I watched that definitely was not my kind of preference for fun film going. But again, I recognize that it definitely has an audience, and it filled a gap in genres that we haven't seen in a long time. It's called The Spine of Night. It's animated, but it's kind of that same time period with that same brutal violence and nudity and that kind of stuff. And then in the other one, it's just classic Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that was his very first film. So if you're into that time period and you like all the barbarism and that kind of stuff, and you haven't seen that, then you probably should check that one out. All right, that's it for my movie review. I hope if you watch this movie, you're prepared for it and that you enjoy it for what it is. And thank you so much for always supporting my videos. I always love it when you comment down below, when you like it, when you subscribe. All of those things help spread magical YouTube fairy dust on my channel and helps more people to be able to find it so my channel can grow. So hopefully you found that this review was helpful and maybe intriguing if you hadn't heard anything about this movie. Until my next movie review, bye for now.